With the Olympics already a distant memory, having finished however long ago they finished, what we remember most about them is not even the events themselves, but their doping and abuse scandals, the slimy nationalism, the political tension, and the dashed promise of international unity, with Russia's invasion of Ukraine pretty much taking place immediately after the event's conclusion. So, Rachel, Emil, keeping all this in mind, my question for you is this. Should we abolish the Olympics already?
No.
Yes.
They didn't. He said Rachel and Emil. He didn't say Ian.
Well, you guys both gave the wrong answer, so I'm coming in as the grown-up.
I say my reasoning for about not abolishing the Olympics, because like looking at both the Summer and the Winter Olympics, it just highlights a bunch of activities that we don't normally see. Like,
so what?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't normally see.
Literally, so what?
Ian, get out of here! Get out!
I don't see a guy fucking making swords anymore. Okay, blacksmiths aren't a thing anymore.
Forged in Fire. It's a reality show. Look
and it
up.
Sucks.
So.
That's the guy where the guy goes, it keels or something, right? That's like it's like whole fucking.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the worst catchphrase in a fucking show ever.
But does it keel? Yeah, that's.
Well, okay, wait. So I love the Olympics, and I've discussed this with other people. My sister and I love the Olympics. I feel like there's when I was growing up, we never had cable or anything. So when the Olympics came on, it was like a big deal. Like it was like a really cool thing to watch on TV. And I talked to my sister about this because my coworker, now boss, fucking hates the Olympics and thinks that it's like the biggest piece of shit. And he finds it creepy that we would be competing and, against each other. There's more to it, but I'm taking a very small part of but he found it kind of creepy. And I guess to sort of see it from his perspective. But at the same time, when I was talking to my sister about it, she was like, these people do, and it's sort of what you were saying, Emil, like we see things that we don't normally see, but it's also really cool. Like some of the stuff in these sports, I find to be like really, really cool and interesting. And like, damn, I didn't realize people could do these things with their bodies or I find that really cool.
There's a YouTube channel for every single thing that they do in the Olympics. You can go and watch.
Okay,
you can watch.
you
don't need
the Olympics.
You don't need to destroy the environment for every city that's been there, destroying habitats, displacing low-income housing, and all that jazz.
This is what I find so interesting about this discussion is because when you propose getting rid of the Olympics, for again, as a means of addressing all of the abuse that inevitably comes out of it, people's response is what's going to happen to these sports? These sports are not going away. They continue to be a thing. You can watch Usain Bolt runs all the fucking time. It's not just he doesn't hibernate for 4 years and then come out ready to run. You could
as an avid runner myself. I'm constantly up. I watch running and keep up with running like people watch football or the other football. And I love it. I think it's great. So when the Olympics comes around, it's just an addition to what I've already been keeping up with. But yeah, for most people, this is just wow, these people dedicate their whole lives to running around a lap 4 times. That's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy
Another
stupid.
thing too is that, so I'm pretty sure in a lot of the sports within the Olympics, you cannot be a professional and participate in it. And if you ever look it up, some of these countries pay people if they win the gold, the silver, the bronze. And so for them, it's, I guess, kind of a job. But at the same time, I guess I never really thought about what Shay said about it all fucking up the environment and ruining habitats and displacing people.
But you like it, so your individual preference is way more important. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I want to see it. The whole world wants to see it.
So the Olympics, it has a spirit, right? So you have to I feel the idea that most supports the Olympic is where it came from, and it's this almost holy, reverent concept that dates back to the ancient Greek. Which back then it was a religious ceremony, but I think a lot of people forget that there was actually almost, like 1500, 1600 years where there was no Olympics at all. It was like reborn in like the age of multinationalism to the kind of the current form it is now. But like the goal, so like what is the Olympics? Like what is the goal of Olympism? And so according to the Olympic Charter, the goal of Olympism is to place sport at the service of the harmonious development of man, with a view to promoting a peaceful society concerned with the preservation of human dignity, which sounds really cool. Like there's a lot of like beautiful ideas here that talks about peace. It talks about harmonious development of man, and probably most importantly, like preservation of human dignity. But like more and more, what we're seeing is a lot of things that seem to undermine human dignity, like doping. Again, with the fact that like governments bid over having the Olympics in their respective cities. And then while they do that, they end up creating these massive infrastructures that are basically single-use infrastructures. Many cities have never found a way to repurpose them. Some have, some find other ways. So you end up with a system that just displaces, wastes a ton of money, and then you actually even there's some studies that show that property values go down after Olympics because you basically have these derelict, massive, useless areas that like you can't destroy for the sake of celebrating our past. So it's interesting. So I guess like what does the Olympics really bring? Like what is the real point? Is it just to see like a bunch of stuff you can see on YouTube? Like Is there a
you
better
gotta stop saying
answer?
that. It's a lot more than just YouTube. A lot of people, first of all, don't have the 1080p, so it's not even that great quality for a lot of people.
Who doesn't have 1080p?
I'm just saying. I'm just speaking for those people. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It's still so much more. And also, like, what about FIFA or the Super Bowl?
You can make an argument.
We'll do the FIFA episode next because my opinion is more or less the same. Okay, like it's the same kind of idea, right? Like it's these would have essentially become multinational corporations, like fleecing governments to get everything that they want, and then the cost gets paid on to the taxpayer, to the fucking athletes, to like residents living in those areas. Like I think during the Brazil Olympics,
what about inspiration? What about Fever and just
the thing that fascinates me most about the Olympics is that we essentially think of it as like sports politics, right? And like,
that's what I was going to say.
Well, like, when we talk about abolishing the Olympics, like it really does become the zero-sum game. And like, I mean, Emil, to your credit, like a lot of people talk about, again, like, oh, like what about like the magic and the mystery and like the inspiration and stuff like that. We act like the only place we get that is from the Olympics every 4 years. Like, it's not like when we abolish the Olympics, like inspiration goes away. Like, we're not going to be like, it's not going to be like 1920s like prohibition era where like I remember when we had inspiration. We're not going to like smuggle it in flasks and like sneak onto stadiums and get like arrested by the anti-Olympic police.
Another thing too and I'd be interested in watching the Olympics as it's being held in another country, because as watching it in the United States, a lot of it is focused, like obviously it's focused on the sports, but a lot of the commentary is focused around China and Russian participants or competitors. And obviously there was the thing this year with the Russian figure skater, but a few years ago, the Chinese gymnasts and how they were too young. There's always controversy, and they're always talking about Russia and China. And I feel like it feeds into like a lot of the sentiments that some people, and quite a lot of them in the United States, feel right now about all of that stuff, which I find really weird. I feel like I'd rather just watch cool people do cool shit and then leave some of that else, but that's never that political shit is never going to go away from anything ever.
It really does function as like an unbelievable type of propaganda where it's like you can almost justify sanctions on Russia and China because their athletes cheated. Like one guy like trips another guy and it's like, looks like we need a not an embargo? Oh, yeah, like looks like we need an
Sanction.
embargo on Chinese goods. Yeah, sanction on Chinese goods because he tripped the South Korean guy when they ice skated. Like it's really, really weird. Like the way that it's barely about the sports, and I think that's been true since the Cold War. That it's always about like the politics is really what makes it exciting. And like when we're watching a Russian guy and an American guy box, we're really just like like we feel like we've solved some sort of geopolitical problem when really all that's happened is like millions of dollars were spent to like make us feel better emotionally. Like it almost feels like a pacifier in a way. It's really weird.
I don't think this may be a controversial statement or something to say, but I don't think nationalism is ever going to go away. All the good and bad that comes with that, I feel like it's a very human thing. Like we're just like that's innate, and so like why not channel that into like some sort of organized competition, instead of just.
What if we channel that into like curing cancer? Like that would be a better metric. Like it's like, haha, we cured cancer. I know that's like totally not a fair comparison. Like,
It's really
No, but Emil is kind of correct in this because when the Russian figure skater girl fell a bunch of times in her last performance and she did not make it onto the podium, the U.S. commentators said, "Thank God." On air, they said, "Thank God that she fell and she did all this." She's a 15-year-old kid.
Well, she also cheated. She's 15, but in all fairness, it would have made it super fucking complicated if she had made it because she.
No, sure. But
Yeah.
I'm talking more about that. They were like, thank God she fucking fucked up, and now America is better than Russia, and fuck her.
First of all, like,
That's what they said.
It sounds like a classic Western Christian thing to thank God whenever something bad happens to someone else. So I'm not upset about that. I mean, that scans for me. I just don't have any issue. Like, it seems like someone fucking cheated. They kind of got their poetic justice, and like,
but listen,
cool, it didn't work.
This is fucked up because we need to address this, right? Like this is a 15-year-old kid who's being like bossed around by essentially led around by handlers. Sure. She's basically a slave of like the Russian Sports Federation. Yeah. Shut up, Rachel. But like she's a 15-year-old fucking kid. Like this wasn't this kid's idea to like, let me dope and let me do as many drugs as possible so I'll be the best fucking ice skater in the world. If it was,
have you seen all the drugs those kids on Euphoria do? They want to do this stuff. This is intentional.
It also just doesn't matter. Like, yeah, she was one person who like this state organization like basically like kidnapped into the Olympics, but if we are like celebrating it internationally, then that doesn't help that child or the next child or the next. As much as we can condemn that shit, then I think we are getting further in advance. But anyway, I'm moving us past this because I believe that the Olympics has outlasted its stay here. So I'm going to do a quick pop quiz. I'm gonna name a few things. I think I got 8 or 9 here. Some of them are fake Olympic events, and some of them are real. And you have to tell me if they are real or fake, okay? And I'm going to give one to each of you, so don't tell the answer if you know it. So, Emil, fake or real? Olympic canoeing.
Canoeing?
Canoeing.
I don't even know if I know what canoeing is.
A canoe? What are you talking about? You don't know
Rachel,
canoeing.
Let him do it.
Canoeing is you're in some kind of water floating device, but I don't know if that's like your feet are inside the boat or
all
your
right,
feet
I don't want to know if you know what canoeing is. Do you think it is part of the Olympics? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Okay, well, you're wrong. It's in it. Okay. Ian, dressage. Dressage. Is dressage...
Okay.
Dressage.
Dressage.
I understand. I don't understand not knowing what canoeing is, but what the fuck is dressage?
I know what it is.
What is that?
That's why I didn't pick you, Rachel.
Okay. Do I think dressage is an Olympic sport? With a name like that, how could it not be in the Olympics?
How could it not be? Well, you're right. Dressage is. I don't think I want to pick you at all, Rachel, because I think you'll know all these. But just to, I'll softball you in one. Trampoline. Is there Olympic trampoline?
Yes, there is, and I've watched it. And
Yeah,
also,
it's lame.
dressage is with horses. That's why I
hold
know,
on.
because I grew up on a farm.
So are the horses allowed to do drugs? Like if you can't.
Horse doping is a real problem. Emil, all right. Laser sailing. Is laser sailing a real Olympic event?
Laser sailing?
Laser sailing. Is this a real Olympic event?
Summer or winter?
I assume summer.
All right, then I'm going to say no. If it's winter, yes.
Wrong. It's a real Olympic event. Ian,
What?
hammer throwing hammers. Is that a real Olympic event or not?
Fuck yeah, hammer throwing's my fave, dude.
Yes. All right, and that's the last one
are
we're
you
doing here.
serious?
Yes, it's a real thing. All of these are real things. They are so fucking weird. Like,
What?
Everything is Olympics now. There's Olympic skateboarding, as we know. There's anything you can think of is Olympics. Do we care enough to do everything else we're doing to like basically enrich the IOC? I don't even know if I'm not. I don't hate the IOC or whatever, the Olympic Commissioner or whatever their name is, but I don't hate them. But anyway, everything is the Olympics. Do we care? I don't care. So
You're right. With that argument, I honestly, all the 8 things that I have no idea what they are, no, Olympics can go away. I'm fine.
all right, and then just a couple positive notes. So there are some proposed solutions to saving the Olympics. One of those that I think makes the most sense to me is instead of having temporary places, using permanent cities, like cities that are organized by the world. It's like, this is where we do this. They have sustained infrastructure. It'll sustain only one place. I mean, I imagine this will be a first world country or something like that. You know, obviously, you know, with the
Problematic.
lobbying power they have. Absolutely. And, you know, it could be enriching the rich at the expense of others, perhaps. But on the other hand, it's sustainable. You know what I mean? So like, it's something that we can do. People can train. They can build up an industry in one area that they know will be sustained. So that is one possible solution, just to throw that out there. That's it.
There's one. Okay.
That's it.
Well, I had one before we move on. I had one, and mine was that no more athletes at all. What you do is you just select citizens. It's like jury duty. You select citizens at random from every country, and then you just show up and you compete.
I love
like,
this.
and you have to do it, and you have to go, and it's just
I
like
pain of
really
death.
like that one.
Yeah.
I want that one.
that would be fucking like I would love that. Like, hey, Ian, are you doing anything this summer? Like, yeah, I got drawn to do
selected
shot
for
put.
the
Yeah.
Olympics.
I got selected to do shot put at the Olympics this year, guys. So root for me, USA.
Doing dressage for this summer.
Dressage. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to
think
learn how to
this is,
ride a horse.
You really
Maybe,
should actually Google dressage, just so you guys know, because it's almost like prancing ponies, and I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
I've seen it. It's like the fancy ponies. It's like
Yeah, it's
basically
like
how much can you master this beast is basically
Yeah,
the whole
there's-
idea of dressage.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like a little bit of a departure, and we don't have time to talk about it now, but I'm interested to see what the Olympics will turn into as like more and more people like step away from like TV culture, like glued to a TV to watch a thing for a certain time. Like, what does the Olympics turn into 15, 20 years from like everything is, you know, media is on our phones or just like...
It's the Metaverse Olympics is the next thing that'll happen. That'll solve
Yeah.
all of our
Bullshit.
issues.
Bullshit.
We're all competing in 3D virtual world. No one's leaving their house, and it's all sponsored by Meta.